But you made a statement also, and I think I understand what you're talking about, but just in case somebody watching or listening doesn't understand that, when you said leeward, I looked at the
Mhm.
leeward side. Is that like a south facing slope? Is that what it is when you say leeward? Is that what that
It's
means?
the underside of the wind. So it could be the south. It could
Oh,
be the south slope if you got a north wind, or the
okay.
north slope if you got a south wind.
Gotcha.
So it's the basically the opposite. And so what happens during the rut? And this isn't, you can find this all over the internet, and it's may explain a lot more than I can. But they can smell everything over that hill, right?
Yeah.
And then when the thermals rise, they're getting the thermal pull up in the mornings, and then they got the dumping over on the top, and hypothetically they can smell both sides. But like,
Mm,
it's one of them things. It's not that you can't kill a deer on a windward side. It's just that you will a lot of times find bucks hanging out, and deer in general hanging out uh, on that leeward side. I've always done better on the leeward side. But that was just what was going on there. It was the leeward side of a. This was just a nasty thicket that rolled up over a hill, and that wind was dumping out of that thicket. And I was right on the transition, so I knew a buck scent checking, for that buck's not going to walk on the top of that thicket. He's going to walk and
right.
get, and most of the time it's quartering. Most of the time it's not straight into it or straight away from it. It's quartering down and away, and he's going to catch all of that, all of
So
those does. It's more efficient.
yeah,
It's like if you go to Walmart with your wife and you can't find her and you left your cell phone in the truck, you're not going to go down every aisle looking for your wife. That's dumb.
right.
That's inefficient. You're going to get
Uh,
on the middle aisle and you're going to walk down the aisle looking down the aisles. That's
yeah.
what they're doing. They're being
Okay.
efficient
Okay.
and
Okay.
checking
So
everything.
let me see if I can. Let's use this microphone because I
Hmm.
want to make sure I'm understanding
Yeah.
this because I'm trying to learn this hill
Yeah. Yeah.
country
Yeah.
stuff. Okay. So we flat land, man. So I'm trying
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
relearn all this, and then I'll tell you how I hunted whenever I was
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
hill country there in Mississippi. But let's just say this is the top of the ridge right here. This
Uh-huh.
bank.
Yeah.
All right. So the wind is blowing this away.
Yep.
Okay. So the leeward side would be down here.
Down there.
Okay. So it's
Yep.
dumping off here. Thermal's
Yep.
pulling up here. He's walking right here
Getting them
and
both.
he can smell it all.
Yeah.
Got it. Got
And
it.
that's not, and obviously that's going to be when the thermals are rising. That's going to be a late morning with the
Right.
sun. Like thermals aren't something, if you've got any big wind at all, they're not even in play,
Right.
because the wind's pulling it.
Pulling it.
But
Yeah.
thermals, it's air, heavier air, colder air is sinking, warmer air is rising, and so they're
Right.
they're using that to their advantage. And a lot of times, I know you've felt this even in Louisiana. There's a special point about 30 minutes, 45 minutes before dark, something like that. You'll feel that air cool.
Yep.
And
Yep.
suddenly it's just like, oh, that felt really nice. Well, if you'll notice,
Hmm.
bingo, there's deer. And
Yeah.
it's like a lot of time they'll wait on that switch,
Yeah.
because they get their favorite. This same piece of public that I killed that big buck on, there was a long story short, I had two trees to hunt, and I on the edge of this bench doing the same thing that I just described, and I couldn't decide which one to be on, and I tried to be double minded and get in the middle of it to where I could shoot to both. That was not a good idea because I didn't
Right.
go to the one I knew to go to. When that thermal switched, here he came. Well, I'm on the top side of it because I was trying to be got outsmarted myself, and I was trying to shoot up a place he'd have never been anyway,
Right.
and he got me because he got below and he picked up my thermals, and that
Yeah.
was a good deer too. But that just they use that to their advantage, and that's a huge misconception that bow hunters have, and I just hope they keep having it. To be honest with you,
Yeah.
because not everybody
Yeah.
needs to know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Um, People they look at the wind and they say, "I can hunt this stand, and this stand." Okay, who is that wind right for? Because if it's right for you, it's wrong for him, and he ain't gonna be there. That's
Yeah.
dumb. That's a good way to
Yeah.
get killed.
Yeah.
So you need to people like they want to set it up to where it's like they can't get smelled, and you may kill a deer like that. Specifically, if you're rifle hunting, it don't matter. You're far enough away, but if it's dead, if the wind is perfect for you, it's dead wrong for him, and he's probably not going to put himself in that situation.
Right.
Whereas if it's almost wrong, I've done the best when it's almost wrong, and we talk about this on the podcast a lot with woodsmanship. Those are really deadly sets. If you can either and Altizer talks about this all the time. If you can get up on the find a curve or find some kind of obstruction or find some kind of turn and get just off of it to where he thinks he's got the wind,
Right.
then bingo. And you're talking about deer ducking it. Big bucks typically don't duck the string. because they
Yeah.
are so dadgum confident in what they're doing.
Right.
They think they're bulletproof.
Yeah.
And they, if they don't know you're there, a lot of times they'll stand there and take the arrow. It's
Yeah.
specifically in Ohio. I don't know that I've ever had a buck drop in Ohio much. But again, it's just confidence. Like they feel like they're
They've
in
done
really
everything
good
right.
shape. Yeah, and
Yeah.
because they should be. They don't know that you're just off of it or he hadn't quite gotten to you. You know,
Yeah.
some of the best stands I have, you know, I'm going to get busted. It's just I've got to get an arrow in him before I get busted.
Yeah. Yeah.
That buck I killed in Ohio this year, same way. He was going to get me, but I
Yeah.
I got him first.
Well, yeah,
But
that's right. Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I remember whenever I was hunting in Mississippi, I remember there were times whenever, I was hunting in certain spots and I really didn't understand all that back then.
Yeah.
I was in my 20s and I just didn't know. I just knew that every time I went there,
Hmm.
that was a good spot,
Yeah.
and I knew the features that I looked for, and
Hmm.
I'll explain to you what I mean by that. But I also know in that spot, I remember the wind could be. I remember telling people, man, look, I can hunt that on like multiple different winds
Yeah.
because it seemed like whenever I dropped, something, smoke or whatever I had, it always seemed like it was rising up,
Yeah.
and I know now that that was thermals
Yeah.
working to my advantage. But the way I hunted back then is I would look for a place where and I always hunted on the side of the ridge, looking down in the bottom is what I always tried to do.
Yeah.
But I always tried to find a place where about 3 or 4 fingers were
Hmm.
come off of a ridge, a main ridge, were coming down into a bottom. And the
Yep.
reason I thought that that was good, and it seemed to be back in those days, was because they could come from like 4 different directions
Right.
and they were going to cross right there,
Yep.
somewhere, whether it was on the side of that ridge, which they often did, or if it
Mhm.
was down in the bottom, they were coming through there from 4 different directions.
Right.
And that
Yeah.
just seemed to work to my advantage, you
Yeah.
know.
Well, anytime you can add multiple opportunities for or multiple reasons for a deer to be there, you're in really good shape. And like, like hunting here in the mountains, my favorite time to hunt's first week of season. If I was going to take a week off of work to hunt, it probably wouldn't be during the rut if I couldn't do both.
Right.
I think that first week of season is deadlier. We get on more big deer then than we do in the rut. And but even then or in the rut, it doesn't matter. You want to combine multiple reasons for them to be here. So if
Right.
there's a transition, great, there's one thing. If there's a nasty bedding above it and he's catching that, good, there's two things. If
Yeah.
there is strip of, a strip of cedars that comes across and diagonals up into that, perfect. There's four things. Like you just keep piling those reasons for that buck to be there and you'll find yourself being more successful.